Final hour overdrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Chris Johnston coming up here in a few moments. I've got my Underpant Cam 5-pack at around 6:30. Get to that.
Is it all hockey?
Yeah, it's all hockey. I was going to include Luka Doncic on that list. I'll tell you what, Nico Ferguson Jr. might be the happiest guy on earth right now because the Lakers,
you don't think he might come back and talk to the media and say, "Told you so"?
They're down 3-1, and people have been finding Laker fans online, like prominent Laker fans, tweeting out things of the likes of, man, Luka runs out of gas at the end of these games, and
well, I can neither confirm or deny that.
Luka's defense is kind of costing us here down the stretch. Like all the things that Nico Harrison would talk about is what is being, delivered here. That Luka's being outplayed by Anthony Edwards, who is a machine, man. He is so much fun to play. Yeah. And the Lakers are in one. They're down 3-1. It feels like it's over. It feels like Minnesota's just going to win that series. Milwaukee's in one, and there's a lot of things
LA
going
was
on.
a higher seed, right? They started in LA.
Yeah, absolutely. They're the 3 seed. Yeah, they're the 3 seed. And, so Nico Ferguson Jr. is a very happy man. I wonder if he's got any dummy accounts. Would he pull a Brian Colangelo here and start tweeting about Luka? And
I think he does have multiple, but if not one. But he would never be as stupid as to let anyone know, let anyone else contribute. I think it's just a look and see account.
You think so?
I don't know if the guy tweets or there's it's an egg avatar where it's like Nico Ferguson Jr. and that's it. And
that would be hilarious.
But who?
If that was his
somebody
actual
finds an egg
alias.
Avi and all he does is follow NBA scribes and Windhorse and
at Nico Fergie Jr.
Yeah. Who was the executive? Was it from Philly? Used to be here that got.
Brian Colangelo.
Yeah,
Colangelo, man. He got caught.
Dude, that guy was in deep.
That's one of the crazy
I think his
stories.
wife was behind it. Like she was
That's what's
DMing
alleged.
other people, saying, that only happened because the GM thought this was like it
Get
was,
a new slant. Remember, someone was chirping his big collars. His shirts, and she's like, find a new slant. It was such a great tweet. Carving up Masai, carving up Embiid, carving up everybody.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That was one of the craziest things that we've ever talked about.
I'll never forget that. I think it was Kevin O'Connell, I want to say from The Ringer, that unearthed that because someone had said, Go place eyes on this
Someone
account.
did a deep dive on stuff that was floating back.
Huge deep dive. Because started following stuff, and then the way it's like Watergate. The way it broke officially was whoever was the reporter had started following those accounts and knew, okay, there's 4 of them out here. They're dummy accounts, and they're all kind of tweeting the same thing. And then he called the Sixers and said, "Hey, I'm going to report on this. These are the accounts. Just letting you know." And 10 minutes later, they had been privatized. Like they had been locked.
If I remember correctly, there was some kind of connection to somebody's son in Toronto or something.
Well, I had a connection. I was breaking news. A guy I grew up with was the football coach at UCC, Upper Canada College, which is where Colangelo's kid went. One of the accounts was following him. And it's like, this is some purported fan in Philly. Why would he be following a teacher in Toronto? So that was a tip-off, too, that this account was following, family friends of the Colangelos.
That's crazy.
Crazy story, man.
Yeah.
And I want Nico Harrison doing that right now. I want him on Twitter right now tweeting at people.
But wasn't they – plus they caught him because they were criticizing, and he would say, no, his clothes are good. It would be defending him on the weirdest things. It wasn't just play, but it was
collars, find a new slant.
But it was find a new slant. But there was something else. It was almost like he blamed it. The wife was like, "I bought those for him. Those were really good too." It was just the weirdest scenario.
It was strange, man. It broke open a whole new level of journalism and investigation.
I bet you a lot more people do it than you think because people care so much about what people say about them.
Totally,
as
man.
you should.
Yeah, if you're in the public eye, you kind of got to know what's going on out there. What I find interesting is it's one thing if you want to know what other prominent public figures are saying about you, whatever it is, compared to like the average fan. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're a big athlete in the city of Toronto, not to pump our own tires, but I could see people saying, I wonder what these guys are talking about, and other shows and other media members. The guy with 5 fans who's up in Woodbridge tweeting, half in the bag. What does it matter if you follow what that guy's saying about you? What is it? I don't know, but I would assume it's a combination of both where some people are really deep into it. Like, I want to know what's going on out there, and that's a dangerous game. Yeah. And generally it's the ones that are the loudest trying to convince you they're not following. Those are the ones that are really, really following. Leafs had a skate today. Austin Matthews did not practice. And I couldn't care less. I don't care what any of these guys do between one game and the next. Just make sure you show up and play. Here's Chris Johnston, our TSN Hockey Insider. CJ, you're down at the skate. How would you describe the mood of the Maple Leafs now that they're up 3-1 and couldn't find a way to sweep on Saturday night?
I didn't sense much change, to be honest. I do feel as though, we might come back and look upon this differently in the future, but I think that there's a thought that they played well enough at times in that game and to be ahead 3-1 that, it's almost like I don't think the full pressure of it's hit yet. Or the possibility, I guess, of the lead slipping through their fingers. So, it was been pretty businesslike in the last week and a half or so around this team, and it was much the same today. And at practice specifically, I actually sensed a lot of excitement because they do have an opportunity to close out a series at home. They could potentially be the first series to be done, which would mean a little bit of rest before round 2 and all kinds of good things. I mean, really, they're in a good spot if they can find a way to get the job done tomorrow.
CJ, did anybody mention or was there any kind of planting seed questions of the closeout record or anything connected to that?
There was definitely a couple questions along those lines, a few questions about the Montreal series specifically when they were up 3-1 and let it slide from 2021, but nothing that produced a spicy answer or anything that made it seem like it was an annoyance. I mean, look, the record is what it is, and it's been over a number of years. I think that they expect it at this point. I mean, the best way to put those questions to bed entirely is to win the series and to start having a better record in those types of games, and then I think you can credibly say, look, this is a different team. And it is a vastly different team, of course, than a lot of the ones that lost those games from 2018 or what have you. But, because of the main players are all still here, I think the questions are fair. And to be honest, I didn't sense any pushback or attitude or anything like that in the face of them.
Yeah. I mean, these guys, they know their history, and there's certain players that have been a part of it for a long time, but the rest of them don't. And Anthony Stolarz certainly doesn't, but this is new for him. Like his first 3 playoff starts, he had 3 wins, 2 in overtime. Now he's had a loss. He played okay the other night, wasn't great, probably would have liked a couple of goals back. What do you sense of Stolarz, considering we've spoken about him so much this year, the workload, the tandem opportunities? He's clearly going to start tomorrow night, as he should. But do you think it's a foregone conclusion? He's got the ball and he's running with it, or is Joseph Woll in the background in some capacity?
Well, I think he's very much in the background. I mean, unfortunately, and we don't know the extent of it, Joseph Woll missed practice today, and Craig Berube said he was under the weather. So, I guess it's something else to monitor off to the side while all this happens. Stolarz, the last game was his worst game this season just by save percentage numbers. Which I realize is a limited measure of, what his performance was. But I think it is fair to say it was one of, he wasn't on his game as much as he had been at other times. Credit to him. He said afterwards he needs to be a save better in a game like that. But I guess if things go poorly tomorrow for him, then we're probably into that territory where that's at least a conversation about who might start the next game. I think he's someone in particular that can benefit from the extra day between games 4 and 5, just because, he's not ever really been the kind of starter that's playing every second night, at least not in the NHL level prior to this. And that's what it's been since the series started. So, he's got the net. I don't think there's nothing like a controversy brewing, but if the Leafs play long enough this spring, there could be a point when we're doing one of these hits or you guys are on and we're having that discussion about, whether they go to Woll or not. A lot of teams use 2 goaltenders nowadays in the playoffs, and the Leafs have 2 pretty good ones. Stolarz has been the best one this year, and so it's his ball until further notice.
CJ, I saw John Tavares spoke. Anything come out of that? I mean, I was happy to see him back, and he did come back, so they didn't really have to talk about it. But that was a big shot he took. It could have gone either way. Those hits, some guys get a concussion, some guys are able to bounce right back up. We saw Barkov get knocked out there, and he played the next game. Tavares, that's a big hit, but he was able to come back, and even after the game, Berube said he came back, so there's no issue there. But he hoped. I was glad that he didn't have any lingering effects on it.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a lingering effect, you could tell he was pretty peeved off by it, and I can't say I blame him. It hits on a couple levels. First of all, Tavares noted that the puck wasn't anywhere near him. He was unsuspecting when he took the hit, and so he wasn't happy about that. You couple that with the fact that he had to miss 10 minutes of game time and overtime because the concussion spotter set him off, which is a mandatory thing if certain criteria are met. And so he missed, not only that 4-minute power play, but, a few shifts in overtime at a time when the Leafs were 1 shot away from ending the series. So, it was pretty devastating in its own right, even though he comes out of it and it appears that everything's fine. Certainly no questions about his availability tomorrow. I think he's going to play. But you could tell, John, he was diplomatic, but he was not too happy about it. And, Mitch Marner, Craig Berube both sort of chimed in on, Berube called the hit a headshot. So, not much that can be done at this point in time now, but that's definitely one that got the Leafs' attention for the wrong reason. That play wasn't called a penalty on the ice, and obviously the Leafs missed Tavares on that 4-minute power play that came afterwards.
With Chris Johnston, what's the story with these goalies, CJ? Freddie Anderson, Montembeault, are they going to play again? Are they not going to play? What are we hearing?
Tough to say. I mean, I don't have any reason to think they're done for the season. That the biggest problem in Montreal might be that they're down 3-1 in the series. So the Canadians might run out of games to play before Montembeault can be healthy. Anderson, of course, is an interesting one just because he's got such a long history of issues and leaves that game yesterday. The Hurricanes look like they're in a good spot in that series. So we'll just have to wait to get a bit more clarity on exactly what he's dealing with. But don't believe he's knocked out for the season or anything like that. But it's crazy the way it's happened. I mean, even Logan Thompson leaving Game 3 of the Montreal Washington series. I know he played and won yesterday, but it's as I say, a lot of teams are using 2 goaltenders now, whether it's for injury or for performance reasons, and I guess that's further point there that Joseph Woll might be needed at some point in time here for the Leafs.
CJ, what are they going to do? Put cameras in and warm up? There's been a lot of fines over silly little stuff in warm up, like chirping, a little tap on the way by. What is the mandate going forward to handle warm ups? Have they tried to warn guys, say, don't even look at the opposition?
Well, I guess the next step is going the junior way and having teams not on the ice at the same time or something like that, because clearly the league's watching closely for anything that happens around the red line, whether it's shooting pucks across it where you're not supposed to, or exchanging words, maybe crossing over a little bit, and I understand the logic. In a big picture, I think it's truly just about not having some sort of slap shot style brawl or having anything that escalates too far. I don't know why it's become such a big issue this year. Unless I'm missing something, I don't remember this from last playoffs, but you've now had 3 teams get fined $25,000 apiece, and obviously a few individual players. So the league is coming down heavy in the sense I think they're trying to stop it right in the tracks. And it's an emotional time of year. These every game you see played now, it's the fourth or fifth or sixth time teams have played in a week or a week and a half, and so naturally, some of the tensions are starting to boil there. So.
Yeah, you want that. You want that during the game. I mean, you don't want it before the game. Clearly, I understand why the league is hammering away at that. I think there is clearly a difference, even though fan bases are not going to see it this way because you're emotional about things. But I've seen some people suggest, well, why is it such a concern to do this in the pregame, but you're not, suspending Matthew Tkachuk or suspending Tom Wilson, and
right,
because those are hits during the game. It's a different story. Like, obviously, you got to police the pregame. The Tkachuk one on Gensel, I'm not surprised he didn't get suspended. And I don't think Wilson. I don't think they should even look at the Wilson carry. I'm assuming they probably would just out of habit more than anything. But where are you at with the league in general, kind of policing things on the ice, actually during the games as opposed to before it?
Well, I think they're looking at the Wilson hit, but mostly just to admire it, to watch it again and again, because it was, pretty textbook hockey hit, and it had devastating effect on the game too. Goal comes right after it, and I don't think there's any talk at all about that one getting any more discipline. The issue, of course, with Tkachuk is that it wasn't a headshot. Gensel came through it okay in terms of his health. For interference type of suspensions anyway, normally it involves contact with the head, and that wasn't present in that hit. And look, there's still allowed to be some animosity out there, and I understand with all the emotions everywhere on both teams, both fan bases in any given moment, you're not going to keep everybody happy, but I think it's been reasonably good so far. I don't take any great issue with any of the suspension sort of thinking at this point, and that Battle of Florida is going to be interesting to see because you're getting more and more of these in that one series. I mean, and you already have teams that have played each other so much that have a lot on the line. I mean, I think that one in particular is going to be a handful for the referees working that next game.
I agree. Mike Sullivan gets the gate. What do you make of that? And, Dubas' speech and even what he said, having spoken 5 minutes with Sidney Crosby to let him know that the transaction was going to go down.
Well, I think it's actually good news for Mike Sullivan. I mean, in this case, he didn't have to sort of mutually agree to leave. Obviously, they could have fired him and he, could have just collected paychecks. But, he's a competitive coach, and he's at a point in time right now. There could be no better time if you're him to become a coaching free agent. You've got 3 original 6 teams, with the Rangers, Bruins, and Blackhawks looking for a coach. You've got the Flyers looking for a coach. There's a couple other teams. We'll see what happens in Vancouver. There's a possibility that, one of the teams that are more that loses in the first round could make a change. And you're in a point in time where I think he's going to be probably the most desirable, person available to be hired. So, Pittsburgh's clearly going through a rebuild that, it's no guarantee no matter who's coaching. You could have prime Scotty Bowman behind the bench or anybody else. I'm not sure that that's a team that's going to be in the playoffs next year. They've already missed 3 years running. So, I think it's a nice end, and it makes sense for a team that's getting younger and trying to start the next phase of its growth to do so with a different coach. And I think just at the same time, I mean, this is a perfect time for Mike Sullivan to go, and I expect he could become the highest paid coach in the game when his next contract is signed, and I think he's only going to be able to work as long as he wants to be, and wouldn't be surprised if we're talking about hours or a couple days versus anything longer than that.
All right, CJ, we'll leave it there. Enjoy Game 5 tomorrow night.
Yeah, it'll get interesting if there's a Game 6, but let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, that is for sure. There's Chris Johnston. It's amazing how that's kind of the pregame setup. So if, Leafs win tonight, good job, awesome. You win in 5, you played really well, it's all good. You lose, watch yourself between now and Game 6 because people are going to start to freak out.
Well, you don't think the Ottawa Senator, that's got to be their whole...
Of course. Force them back to Ottawa. And
get them back to Ottawa. Like, if I'm Brady Tkachuk, I'm coming out with the McDavid comment. We got to drag these guys back to Ottawa and see how they like that. And just,
yeah.
Because that's when the party starts. Yeah, it's very simple.
Very simple. I say it all the time. You get to a game 6, someone's got to be down 3-2. Doesn't matter how. It doesn't matter if you're down 3-0 first. It's just could be a back-and-forth series. That's all irrelevant at that point.
You take a look at that west side, everything's 2-2. Winnipeg, St. Louis, Dallas, Colorado, Vegas, Minnesota, L.A., Edmonton. All 2-2.
Crazy.
It's crazy. And on this side, 3-1, 2-1, 3-1, 3-1. So
let me throw some gonna win meters, not the deserver win a meter. I want a Hazy B gonna win the series meter. Okay?
Yep.
St. Louis Blues, Winnipeg Jets. Who is on the gonna win the series meter?
St. Louis. I'm sorry. I'm terrified about the whole situation there in Winnipeg.
Dude, you said that, and I was staring right at my Adam Lowry jersey.
I want to see Adam Lowry have great success. I'm terrified.
They're the President's Trophy winners.
Good for them. What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything now. You get a best.
You
2 out of 3.
just think in your head that St. Louis is throwing something at them that they can't stop.
Well, let's clarify something too. That yes, Winnipeg did what they did all year. They did. St. Louis was a juggernaut down the stretch as well.
It's the worst Christmas present you could ever.
Absolutely.
It's just a pair of brown socks, and they're ugly, and you don't want them. You win the President's Trophy to get St. Louis is a joke.
Yes, it is. It's a bad break, man. That's what it is. St. Louis is a really good team. Go talk to Vegas. We may get to them in a second. Minnesota is playing them really, really well. The
gonna
wild
win
card
a
teams
meter.
out west.
Gonna win a meter.
Vegas.
The Los Angeles Kings.
Okay, go ahead.
Edmonton Oilers.
Noodles, do you want to jump in on that one?
No,
you have to pick the series winner. It's the gonna win a meter.
Noodles,
you gotta. It's like the quiz.
Flip.
You gotta pick the team.
I thought it was a coin flip going in because LA. People think that LA's a hell
gotta
of a
pick
team.
one of them.
I can neither confirm or deny that.
Nico. You want to say Edmonton? Just say Edmonton.
No,
I know it.
I think he wants
it.
to say L.A., but he's afraid of going against McDavid and Draisaitl, which is
that's
exactly
where
my thought.
I'm
in the same boat.
Step in for the gonna win a meter.
I was about to say L.A., but I was going to say I think that this team, with the change to Pickard, was the difference for me because they went to it and the team has responded. Regardless of what how it looks. They got it done, and it's hard to bet against those two. And
when Doogie puts it on Twitter, they're going to win a meter. You're taking the oil.
I'm not being radioed by this. Why are you all of a sudden doing all these ridiculous?
I just decided to host the segment.
You speak. Okay, who's winning?
I'm going to take the Edmonton Oilers.
Okay.
You
didn't weigh in on the last one, too, did you?
I'll take the Kings. No, of course not. Well, he showed his Adam Lowry jersey.
I think Winnipeg's going to win that series, personally.
Okay. You guys are on that? I'll take LA.
I can't figure out this Dallas-Colorado one.
Colorado. I think Colorado. Unfortunately, I picked Dallas. I had Dallas to win the Cup. It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That series is tied 2-2, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Is there a case for Minnesota to win that series?
Yes. Dude, they had them on the ropes the other day. It went to overtime. That Minnesota team, they're playing really well, and their goalie's playing really well.
Yeah, he's good, though.
Minnesota can win that series, man.
Here's a spicy one for you, Hayes. They're going to win a meter. Florida, Tampa.
Florida.
I'm telling you, right?
Florida.
I think Tampa Bay is going to win that series.
Well, they better win tonight. That goes without saying.
Tonight's critical. Yeah,
it's a must-win.
I have to be consistent. I thought Tampa was going to win, so I'll stick with it. But this Florida team looks like
they are.
How do you bet against that?
You
know what they are? Man. They are the meanest team, and they play hard, and they've got skill. And Bob, he was terrible last game. Bobrovsky, that shot was going wide. His left skate, it hits his skate and goes in.
That's the thing with the team, though, Jamie. You talk about their forecheck and their players up front. And their D-core gelling at the right time. And then you get through all that, and you got Bob back there. Yeah. It's there's different layers to it.
And Barkov miraculously made it to Game 3, which was nice to see, right?
Great
nice
to see.
And Gensel's back, though. Gensel's back tonight, and they survived without him, right?
Well, that was a big hit.
It was a massive hit. But Barkov played. So
what did you make of the Kachuk Gensel hit? Do we talk about it?
I think it was the right play to throw him out, get rid of. I don't think it was a suspension personally, because if you look at, he stops, and like Gensel had the puck. It's not the equivalent, in my opinion, of the Hagel-Barkov one. That, it was different. And I think the right play. And what you really hated was the game was over. It's an empty net to really close it. And I
still thought he was going to get one just because of the I'm not even doing comparables about how they got hit in the track. And I thought because Hagel got one, Tkachuk was going to get one.
Yeah, but I that's the problem is I struggle when you go, well, this guy got this, you got it. Like, to me, player safety has to look at it in a vacuum and go, we're looking at this event, not previous events or other events that are comparables. You can use comparables to help decide yourself. But I think the Hagel-Barkov one was more egregious. And, with Tkachuk.
More violent.
At least, Tkachuk knew what he was doing, but I don't think he ran him over and hit his head. Like, that was the biggest thing. Although Gensel's face hit the ice, which was not good.
Listen, it was a greasy play. He deserved to get the penalty. I had no problem with them diffusing everything and throwing him out. But all right, let me ask you guys this, okay? You don't have to name names because you guys don't have the stones to do it. But give me
what are you talking about?
How many Canadian teams are in the second round? Two. Okay, you got two.
I think.
I think three. I think three Canadian teams are pushing through.
Okay.
I got the Montreal. Montreal.
One of the Leafs or Ottawa are in, clearly.
Right. So that's
I've got the Leafs going through. I've got the Jets going through, and I've got the Oil going through. I just think the LA Kings made a massive mistake not taking one of those games.
I misspoke. I missed. Evan. Yeah,
You got three? Okay.
I got three, but I'm. It's a lean three.
It's 2.5.
It's 2.25.
It's 2.5.
Yeah, 2.5.
Well, what do you have, Mr. Big Stones? If we have
two.
No stone,
I got two.
Yeah.
I'll give two.
Really massive stones. We had three.
All right, I'll give one. I'll say it right now. I'll give you one then.
That doesn't make your stones any
just
bigger
say
by
St. Louis and LA.
You're a bluffer.
Nah, listen, I'll take St. Louis and LA. Could you imagine how they're going to respond if the Leafs are the only Canadian team playing? They're the only ones through. Is everyone going to bandy together? Is everyone going to meet here in Toronto?
Everybody in Toronto jumped on Edmonton's bandwagon and
absolutely.
cheered for them.
100% support.
I know I did.
I don't think you guys did whatsoever. You guys were cheering against them the whole time. Every time they lost, you would bring Strutty on and kick them in the nuts.
That's my reputation. But
I was fully on board. I had an Oiler hat, and I wore it every Friday.
We should go back to the shows last year. The Oilers would win and be like, let's talk about the Jays. The Game 48. And
I don't think that's true.
That is a bold-faced
They would lose, and then Strutty would go, I got to have Strutty on. Let's call Strutty on and kick him in the nuts.
I do have that reputation. There's this one Oiler fan who tweets me because I tweet whenever I tweet anything. I could tweet, wow, beautiful day in Toronto. This guy will write me, you hate the Oilers. All you do is I swear he has basically an automatic response to anything I tweet. Anything. Hey, get out and vote, Canadians. You hate the Oilers.
No,
You're the worst.
I think there was a time you hate Montreal more than anybody else in Canada.
Yes, and that was more of my childhood. I have matured greatly. I have enjoyed
I'm talking in 6 months ago even, because I feel there's two things. You're like, Montreal, they're not there. They're not going to make the playoffs. And it's still a sore spot because of what happened, whatever year that
was. In 21,
they
burned they did. They burned the Leafs. They earned that. I've been a fan of their whole story this year. I have been.
I forget what your reaction was after the Leafs ended up losing that series. I forget.
Well, we know what our reaction was.
Sure, I could probably tell you, but
it was not good. It was not good, and the reaction was rightfully so, because that was 3-1. You don't allow that to happen. And you know what's funny? I brought up this thing about Drake Batherson and that play the other day in overtime. That was a November play, and he doesn't go through. That was Galchenyuk.
Yeah, that's right. Remember him?
That was Galchenyuk trying to go through the middle, and Caulfield picks it off. Or
Caulfield and Suzuki went the other way, 2-on-1.
Was that that wasn't in overtime, was it?
Yeah, it was, I believe.
It was in OT. I think they scored on a 2-on-0 or something. And
yeah.
maybe late in the game or in OT. I can't remember.
Liljegren
game
had
5?
one too in Montreal, Game 6.
No, that was Dermott. That was Travis Dermott.
Was it Dermott? Okay.
Yeah,
you're right.
He had a
Dermott.
spinorama against the wall and just.
Yes, Kotkaniemi, I believe.
But I guess the point being is like you look at some of those types of plays aren't happening right now with Toronto.
Yes, they've been very consistently.
Right?
They look like a mature, well-oiled machine from that standpoint. I've been impressed with the way they've handled their offense, with the way that they've handled the puck, when their transition, their ability to support. Like it's been on display.
Yeah.
Okay, best bets coming up later in the hour. And I've got my 5-pack that we'll get to as well. Overdrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, we'll get to our best bets powered by FanDuel later in the hour. There's a lot of positive stories coming out of the Stanley Cup playoffs, the NBA playoffs, and there's also, some negative ones, some nerve-wracking stories. If we were going to do an Underpant Cam featuring all sports, I think the Blue Jays would have to be very prominent on this list. Even though they're only 2 games under 500, they've lost 7 of their last 8. They have not scored more than 4 runs in a game in 10 straight games. It's not happened in 24 years.
Doesn't look like it's going to happen either.
Their offense is staggering how bad it is. Like and you look at the lineup, you're like, what is going on here? Like what is Alejandro Kirk doing? What is Andreas Jimenez doing? Santander is an OPS under 600. They don't hit home runs. It's just you go on and on, man. It's crazy. It's really crazy to see.
Where's Bo at? Like, what do you know?
Bo's hitting for some average. No power, no home runs, no slugging. He's got 2 doubles. He's just he's not an impact bat, man. It's just he's not.
But is that costing him money?
Yes,
like, is this,
it is, and it will be long term for sure. No question.
Yeah.
But the Jays would be very prominent on a list like this. But I'm going to stick to the Stanley Cup playoffs. I think you guys. I think you're going to push back on a couple of these, and you may need some sort of an explanation on a couple because you'll say that doesn't make any sense.
All right.
Top 5 Underpant Cam. Number 5, I have our boy Peter DeBoer at 5. Okay, I got Pete at 5. I know it's 2-2. I did not
going back home, 2 or 3 at home.
I did not like what I saw in Game 4. Like he mercy pulled Ottinger. His team was so bad. Ottinger has not been great at times, but okay. Wasn't great down the stretch. Heiskanen's still not playing tonight. The Landeskog story to me is one that is overwhelmingly positive for Colorado. He's in the lineup. You talk about a jolt. And the way they played the other day, I just feel like Colorado through 4 games, it's kind of like L.A. Edmonton. They're probably looking at it and say, I can't believe it's 2-2, but I love where we're at. That makes sense. I got Pete at 5.
I understand, and I thought his pull the other night was brilliant because his team wasn't in the game. So why waste more of Ottinger? Why waste? He pulled him at 3-0, but why waste him giving up a 5 or 6 spot? Because Colorado was rolling and his team didn't have it. I thought it was a brilliant pull, and that's when you walk in and say, guys, I don't have it. Jake, you're going next. Like, don't even worry about
of course
this.
I'm
not subjecting you to any more of this nonsense. But just like you laid this out last week, I can just see DeBoer leaning back in his chair going, I like our
He's
team.
Not
I like
generally conducive to this. I got you. But
that guy's won so many series where you think I've seen them go 0-2 to Vegas and Colorado, I think, come back and win the series. Those guys do not die in Dallas.
I think that series is going 7. Like, no matter what happens, for me, it's going 7. I just feel like that's a 7.
It's a great series. I will say, everyone involved in this list, they haven't won the Stanley Cup yet. I think that factors into how you feel about what's going on in the first round. Colorado's won.
Yeah.
Vegas isn't represented. I think there's reasons for, if you're Bruce Cassidy, you're like, what's going on here, man? This Minnesota team they're flying. We're going to overtime to survive. And yet I don't have them on here because of that.
Number 4. To produce this segment properly, you would have done a different type of underpant pick for each
series.
Yeah, you could have the guy in the grocery store. You could have the guys.
Yes. Okay, maybe I do that later in the week. I'll make adjustments. There it is. That is the bottom row bottom right as we move further up this.
Hashtag if you know, you know.
Yes.
You know.
I had that yesterday with Hellebuck online. This one will surprise you guys. Number 4, I got Rod Brindamore. Because who's playing goalie for you?
Pyotr Kochetkov.
Kochetkov's going in. Freddie leaves the game. Who knows when Freddie Anderson's going to play again? Like, honestly, you have no idea when he's going to play, if he's going to play.
Roddy must have thought David Ayers was in net when that first shot went in yesterday, and it was just like the ice, and it goes in. Roddy's eyes almost popped out of his head.
Yes. I saw that goal, and I'm like, what is he doing? Like, I don't know if he picked it up late, if he didn't think a shot was coming. He went down and didn't even like, it was through him before he even reacted. It was an awful goal, and you're right.
And they're up 3-1 in the series. It's not even about just Jersey, and that's what I'm getting to here. This is a big picture thing. If you run into Washington in the next round, whoever you're going to get in the third round, if you can't trust your goaltending, we've been doing this song and dance in Carolina for years, man. They always perform well in the playoffs. They always win in the first round. Or
it comes down to a bigger question. How would you even have trusted that going into the playoffs?
Well,
time and time again, this guy's pulled himself out of the net, and not only that, he's disappeared for months at a time, and nobody knows where he is. And that's, I think it's an analytic thing. I might be wrong, but they have a belief that when they talk about goaltenders, all they say is he's just got to give us that. And there's just no regard for quality goal. It's just like, he just has to give us that and we'll win. Well, saw it in Toronto for years. Like, it's just a philosophy where it's like, we just need him to give us that. Nothing special, just be in there and do that. I think it's bonkers behavior.
The only thing, and the only thing I'm going to say is we know Freddie Anderson has a history of getting injured. It sucks because it's bad luck, however you want to frame it, okay? But in their minds, they're like, well, maybe this is the year that doesn't happen, right? This does, because he's a hell of a goaltender. And you look at, like, they were up 3-1 a lot because of how well he's played. He's played great when he plays. But it's the argument is like, this is coming. This is what you've said. How could you trust that he's going to be able to make it through the playoffs?
Can't trust it, man. It's like playing leapfrog with a unicorn. Sooner or later, it's going to not work out, and you're going to get burned.
I understand that, but we're living in a city that didn't change the core 4 for 9 years, and they keep coming. We believe we're going to get over the hump. We believe now they're heading in the right direction, but at some point they're going. I think in Carolina going. If this guy can be healthy, we like him as a goaltender. That's the only argument, and that might be my defense of it.
But that's why Rod's on this list, because he's not healthy.
Well, and he's not healthy, and that's 100%.
That's the issue. Number 3, Calvin Pickard. Now, here's my reasoning for Calvin Pickard.
I think he's got bright, shiny white ones.
Oh, I don't. When he stepped in Game 3, if he lost Game 3 and Game 4, no one even mentions his name. It's Stuart Skinner. Skinner threw this away. He blew it for us. Thanks for stepping up, Pickard. You had to, pick up what was left. That's gone now. Now it's the best 2 out of 3. The first 4 are completely irrelevant. You're Calvin Pickard. You got the best player in the world playing for you and looking at you saying, do not screw this up for me. And it's not just him, but my point is Pickard, coming into the series, I would have had Skinner high on this list. Skinner's played himself off of this list. Game 3 and 4 for Pickard, it was like, see what you can do. It's not all on you. Defense hasn't been great. LA's been better than us. Skinner's killing us. I think that's done now. Now it's like Skinner's not going back in. It's Pickard's net. It's the best 2 out of 3, and you're the guy. Yeah. And he's been good. He's bent. He hasn't broken. He's given up. He's given up some goals through 2 games, man.
Yeah, and that's the thing, though. It's
still icy.
What do you think, guy? Let me ask you about my idea. Game 5, I put my man Stu Skinner in net.
No, you're crazy, man.
No, you watch
I
yourself.
wouldn't even dress him as a backup.
Talk to me.
E-bug.
I know.
I'd e-bug it.
I think you say you have a private meeting and you say, Stu, you took us to the finals. You had your little break in round 1. You got it again now, and now take us to the promised land and watch them cook.
It would be a great story, but
Hayes,
the problem is, no, I don't think Hayes is do it, and
no.
not right now. I wouldn't do it
Harrison
either.
Move.
No, it would be a great story and a great challenge to go. you go and you've had your 2 games off, like they gave him 2 games off against Vancouver last year, and then he rode. The point being is they can't trust that right now. What they need to do, what's lost in all of this, Hayes, is Darcy Kemper went 16 games without giving up 2 goals or more. They put up a 5 spot. They put up a set with 7 and empty netter, 2 empty netters, so only 5 again. And what did they get? 4 last night. So, like, they're finding something, and Kemper's been unbelievable. Like, he's a great goaltender, and I pointed out they had 33 chances, high-quality chances last night. He was the difference in that game to even keep it close when the Oilers pressed. But, like, his underpant Cam, this is a guy who's up for the Vezina this year.
Right. Well, I have
Jim
Hiller
as goaltending. Okay, so
I got Hiller as head coach at 2.
If you I want Doogie or Joe to put up that thing, because I do agree. Pickard, there's pressure now. So it's not white, shiny, tighty whiteys.
No, it's not.
But it's not far right.
Fourth row in the middle, man.
No, not for me. I'm third row to the left. Maybe kind of the gray.
That is like a grayish skid. Like a tire track.
That's livable.
It's a skid.
That'll get you through.
That's
that'll
a
get you
mountain
through a
bike
second date.
skid.
But that's yes, that's a skid. It's
concerning, but it's not.
Yeah.
I'm breaking up with you.
That's a mountain bike skid where somebody jimmy an engine on the mountain bike, so it's deep enough where you see it.
Right.
Yeah, but there is pressure on him now because they're back in the series.
You're the guy now.
Yeah,
now it's all
so
restarts. You get the 2-2, it restarts. That's why I got Jim Hiller at 2, because he's kind of become the face of this because of his interactions with the media, where he's ornery. He's not happy after the game, nor should he be. I wouldn't.
That's the first time I've ever
seen
him chippy.
Yeah. He's
and I think he was
composed.
just so pissed off that puck didn't go out.
Yeah.
Like, that is one of those moments where you're literally not talking about like what your habits are like, your competitive nature, any of that. It was all in that moment. How could you not have gotten that puck out?
Well,
like, you've played so great. You're one of the best players in the league. You're in the best league in the world. Coaches go nuts. They're like, it's just, what in the hell were you thinking?
I'll go a step further.
85 feet wide, man. It's got to go somewhere down.
I agree. I'll go a step further, though. The TSN turning point of this whole series was that goalie challenge, the goalie interference challenge.
Yes, well, that's another thing. Hiller challenged
right
after the Kane goal, right? Was it the Kane goal?
Kane goal, and they challenge, and Bouchard scores 9 seconds later or whatever. Yep. That was, and Edmonton doesn't look back after that. They score 2 empty netters. They win that game.
That was Friday.
And that, to me, that's I don't know. That's a tough challenge, because I was looking at that going, where's the goalie interference? The goalie spun around.
Game's tied at that point. Exactly. Like, even if it counts, it's 4-4. You're in the third period. And I agree, man. I think Jim Hiller has kind of taken on, and like, now you've maybe awoken a beast. You're right. Like, maybe the Oilers are like, I can't believe we're tied 2-2, but we are. Let's get cooking here. Yeah. Their history, we keep talking about it. The Jets, the Leafs, the Kings are no different. They can't beat these guys. It's like Ottawa and the Leafs. It's the Battle of Ontario. They can't beat Edmonton. And you've had them. This could have been a sweep. It could have been. There's no reason they're not up at least 3-1, and it's 2-2. Yeah. Hiller, I got at number 2 right now, and he represents the whole Kings organization. And number 1, obviously, I have Connor Hellebuck. I mean, I couldn't think of a more obvious number 1. I'm sorry, Hellebuck. You get pulled twice. The season you had this year, the President's Trophy, the high expectations, you're trying to change your own reputation, your individual one, your team one, and all the pressure's on him because of who he is and what he is. And I said it earlier, like, the Jets are a really good team. They're missing a couple of pieces. Really, really good team. But he made them a great, great team, like juggernaut team, because of how great he is. And he's the ultimate cheat code, man. The way he plays all season, it was unbeatable.
Be a fascinating first period tomorrow night in Winnipeg. I'll tell you that.
Man, he gives up one early that's ugly. You're like, this will be – we didn't joke to an extent about Comrie and all that. I think it's a quicker pull if he sees Icy tomorrow, in my opinion, on Wednesday. Like, if he gives up 2 on 4 shots, at that point you probably have to go to Comrie. I think during the game, like, it's
weird because I remember Paul Maurice, like, saying, like, this guy, they never pulled him. Like, I don't know. We'd have to go look and see. Like, I don't think he probably got pulled during the season. Off the top of my head, I can't remember.
I think someone wrote in the Leafs might have ran him off earlier in the year. But I
thought so
that.
in Winnipeg, but I don't. I think he just didn't play well, and he gave up like 5 or something. I just didn't think. But remember they had won 16 in a row, and the Leafs beat them in there. That was the end.
Right. Yes.
That was their
first loss of the year, I believe.
Yeah, and he wasn't very good that night. But it just, I don't know. He just rarely gets pulled. So to get pulled twice in a row, I agree with I'm not going to bet first star, but I bet response. That's all I'm betting.
Yes, I'm hoping for it. I'm pulling for it. All right, best bets coming up. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, today's best bets powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. I'm going to go Bill Belichick here. Doogie is going to be my muse, right? Doogie's hooked me up here. I'm looking to the corner. What should I do, Doogie? Matthew Tkachuk, 3+ shots on goal. Nikita Kucherov, 3+ shots on goal. Nathan McKinnon, 4+ shots on goal. Mikko Rantanen, 3+ shots on goal. That 4-leg parlay paying plus 912. Doogie Hudson. We're not going to talk about that. Today's best bets powered by FanDuel. Live same-game parlays are now available for every Stanley Cup playoff game on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Please play responsibly, 18+, physically located in Ontario. Mikko Rantanen could have been on the Underpant Cam. That guy better snap out of it, man. He's done nothing through 4 games.
That Underpant Cam, I can't wait. We're going to call it the laundromat. Doogie's going to put up a pair of underpants, and we're going to say, this is who it is.
All right, the laundromat coming up tomorrow. I can't wait for it.
Dude, addition to the laundromat tomorrow at
4 p.m.
We'll chat then.